Dear students, you are welcome once again to this lecture. We are continuing to look at research methods, but in this lecture we are crossing on to another important topic, and this is what we call reviewing the literature. In the previous lectures of these research methods, we made the general introduction. We introduced the research as a concept. We looked at the characteristics of research. We looked at the different research designs. We looked at the problem identification. We looked at formulation of a research problem. How do you formulate research objectives, research questions. So we looked at those introductory or beginning subtopics. So in this lecture, we are looking at reviewing the literature. And under this topic, we shall look at the introduction and definitions. We shall look at the purpose of literature review. We shall cover steps involved in a literature review. We shall tackle sources of literature review. We shall look at the scope of the literature review, the techniques. What are the techniques, the different skills are required of you to review the literature. So those are some of the things that we shall, engage ourselves with in this topic. So, what is a literature review? When we talk of the literature review, what is it? With the literature review, we mean that you are looking at the previously published works. You are looking at the works of scholars that were published and which are connected to your own work that you are researching on. So basically, when we talk of the literature review, you are looking at the previously published works so that you can inform your current work. And as you can see, when you are reviewing the literature, gone are those days where you were tied to a library. You have to review the different research books, the different textbooks in the library, as you can see. But now with the advancement in technology, now you have moving libraries. You have a lot of e-resources, electronic resources online. So now you can review your literature at the comfort of your sitting room. You don't need to travel and look for a library because you have the e-libraries, you have the electronic libraries, you have the e-resources. So you can now review literature just seated in your sitting room, or without really having to spend on transport to go and look for a physical library. So that is what we call the literature review. So as you can even see there, a literature review is an overview. This is what I've already explained of the previously published works on a specific topic. And this specific topic, then if you are an author and you are reviewing literature, then the works you are reviewing must be related to your current work that you are working on, or the current aspect that you are investigating. A literature review is a search. It is a search and an evaluation of the available literature in your given subject or your chosen topic of area. So you have to go out and look for all those previously published work. And the intention here is not just to look for these works for the sake of just looking for them, but you want now to get grounded. You want to go in depth to understand more the concept that you are investigating. And you can never understand more the concept that you're investigating unless you have read similar previous works on your work. What is the purpose? We want to look at the purpose of reviewing literature. You may be wondering, why do you need to review the literature? If you have a topic that you want to research on, that you want to investigate, why do you need to concern yourself with reviewing literature? Reviewing literature is important for the following purposes. One, the purpose of the literature review is to find out what others have discovered before you begin your investigation. You have to put your work in the proper context, because we say there is nothing new under the sun. And therefore, before you start writing, before you embark on that tedious work of conducting an investigation, then you need to find out what did others do. And what has not been done. There are normally those basic questions. What has been done, what has not been done, and what you are going to do about that. Then two, it helps to ground your study in a particular context of what is known about a subject. Then three, it helps establish a foundation for the topic or the question that they are being researched. So that your work is not just hanging in air, but your work is hinged on the works of other people. And here, as we shall be seeing later on in this lecture, is that as you review literature, then you are going to identify the gaps. You are going to identify what was not done by the previous scholars, and what gaps currently exist, and what you can do about these gaps. So that is very, very important. Now, it helps to inform methodology. As you review literature, as you look at other previously published works, then you'll see what kind of research designs they use. What kind of population did they go to? What kind of respondents did they go to? What kind of study design did they do? Did they use qualitative? Did they use quantitative? What kind of data collection methods did they use? What kind of data collection tools did they use? So all of those are very, very important, because they will inform your own research. So as you read, that means you are also thinking about your own methodology, how you will be able to conduct. Because when we talk of methodology, we are talking about the how part. How will you be able to conduct your specific work that you are going to investigate, or that you are currently investigating or working on. But also, it helps to avoid duplicating research. In research, we always say that you need to come up with the original works, works that have not been previously published. So how will you know that this piece of work has not been published, or this aspect has not been investigated before? This aspect has not been worked on before. How will you come to know that? You'll come to know that when you review literature, when you go through the different works that have been published before, so that you can avoid duplicating other works, so that you can come out with original work that has not been previously published. Now, brings clarity and focus to your research problem. Your research problem will be clear. Your research problem will be focused if you preview the works of other people. But also, and very actually important, is that it broadens your knowledge base in your research area. If, for example, you are investigating an aspect, for example, to do with e-learning in high institutions of learning, it means you are going to review many articles on e-learning, electronic learning. As you review those articles, then you are broadening your understanding. You are broadening your knowledge. You are having a clear understanding of the concept under investigation. And you can only broaden your knowledge. You can only broaden your understanding of a given research topic if you review literature. If you don't review literature, then you will remain with that narrow understanding, that limited understanding, that myopic understanding of the concept. But as you read, then your horizon, your understanding will be open. Your understanding will be widened. So therefore, it is always very, very, very important. And by the way, in research, normally this is one of the first steps that any sensible researcher has to look at before even you start working. Then it allows you to identify relevant theories, the relevant methods, and the gaps. When you are doing research, you always have to anchor your work on some theories. Now, you will not be able to just think of a theory if you have not reviewed the literature. If you have not read other people's papers, other people's published works, and you have not seen the different theories that were applied on their work or that were used on their work. But also we are talking about the methods of investigation, the methods of conducting research. All of that information, the gaps, what gaps are there in research? If we just again go back to that example of e-learning, you are looking at e-learning and how maybe it improves academic performance in high institutions of learning. Yes, but what are the gaps now that are there? Because so many people could have written on e-learning. What has not been written about? And what are you going to do about it? You will not be able to get that information unless you have sat down and reviewed the literature. What are the key questions to consider in the review of literature? We have a number of questions that you always have to consider when you are reviewing literature. The first question is, what do you already know in the immediate area concerned? What knowledge is available about this concept, about this problem that you want to investigate? And you know that knowledge that is available. Then two, what are the characteristics of the key concepts or the main factors of the variables? What are the relationship between these key concepts, the factors, and the variables? What are the existing theories? Where are the inconsistencies or other shortcomings in our knowledge and understanding? And inconsistencies can also now lead to the different gaps that are there. The contradictions, what are they? What views need to be further tested? What evidence is lacking, inconclusive, contradictory, or too limited? Why study further the research problem? What contribution can the present study be expected to make? What research designs or methods seem unsatisfactory? So those are very key questions. As first of all, you need to pause as you start to review the literature, as you start an investigation. Now, if these questions are well answered, then it means that your research is now very clear. Your research is focused. You know what you are doing. You know what you are going to investigate. So we can now take a very quick break. And when we return, we shall pick on from here. Thank you so much.